What if I told you the biggest mistake most aspiring shoe designers make in 2026 has nothing to do with talent, creativity, or even sketching skills? It starts much earlier than that. It starts with software. Most people waste months, sometimes years, chasing the wrong tool, believing there is one perfect program that will suddenly make them design like a professional. But real designers do not work like that. Real footwear design is not built on one magical app. It is built on workflow, decision-making, and understanding exactly which tool solves which problem. And once you understand that, everything changes. Because the real question is not, what is the best shoe design software in 2026? The real question is, what do real designers actually use to turn an idea into a shoe that can be visualized, refined, developed, and eventually produced? That is the difference between dreaming about shoe design and actually thinking like a footwear designer. A lot of people still see shoe design as something simple. They imagine a cool sketch, a nice side profile, maybe a trendy sole, and they think that is enough. But a real shoe is much more than a drawing. It has structure, proportions, fit, surface transitions, material behavior, construction logic, manufacturing limits, and performance expectations. A shoe has to look right, feel right, and make sense in the real world. That means software is not just a drawing tool. It becomes part of how you think. It shapes how you solve problems, how you communicate ideas, and how close you can get to reality before a prototype is even made. That is why choosing the right software matters so much. It is not only about making beautiful concepts. It is about building a process that can survive the journey from imagination to production. One of the strongest software choices for that journey in 2026 is Autodesk Fusion. Fusion is powerful because it sits in a very important place between design and engineering. It is not just about making something look good. It is about making something make sense. And that matters in footwear, because every curve, edge, thickness, and surface can affect how believable, manufacturable, and functional the final product feels. If you are designing outsoles, midsoles, structural parts, or product forms that need more precision and real-world logic, Fusion becomes a very smart choice. It teaches you to think like a product designer, not just an illustrator. And in a world where design is becoming more connected to prototyping, production, and rapid development, that way of thinking is extremely valuable. But if your goal is specifically footwear, not just general product design, then Rhino with FTW Kit becomes one of the most exciting combinations to look at. This is where the workflow starts feeling much closer to the real language of shoe development. Rhino already gives designers flexibility, but FTW Kit brings in a much more specialized footwear layer. Suddenly, the process starts connecting more directly to the needs of actual footwear work, from shaping to development to pattern-related thinking. That is important because a shoe is never just one outer shell. It is a system of parts, lines, panels, and decisions that all need to come together in a way that feels intentional. Rhino with FTW Kit is attractive because it reflects that reality. It moves you closer to the world of real shoe creation, where design is not just a visual act, but a technical and strategic one. Then there is iCAD 3D+, and this is where specialization becomes even more obvious. Some software is flexible, some software is broad, and some software is built to speak directly to a specific industry. iCAD 3D+ stands out because it is designed with footwear in mind from the start. That makes a difference. When a tool understands the nature of the product you are designing, the workflow feels more natural, more focused, and often more efficient. For footwear professionals, technical designers, or developers who want to work closer to production logic, specialized tools like this become very serious options. They may not always be the first tools beginners hear about, but inside real development environments, specialization often creates speed, clarity, and precision. Of course, even the most accurate shoe model is not enough if it does not feel real when you present it. This is where Adobe Substance 3D changes the game, because design is not only about geometry, it is also about emotion. Materials matter, texture matters, the way light hits a surface matters. The difference between rubber, mesh, leather, foam, knit, or matte plastic matters. A design can be technically impressive, but if it looks flat, lifeless, or unfinished, it can easily lose its impact. Substance helps solve that problem. It brings realism into the process. It allows a concept to feel tangible before it even exists physically. And that is incredibly powerful, because in modern design, presentation is not separate from development. It is part of how ideas gain approval, momentum, and trust. And then there is the part many people overlook. Two-dimensional design still matters. In a world obsessed with 3D software, it is easy to forget how much footwear still depends on clean 2D communication. Graphics, branding, line layouts, printed elements, visual identity, and technical communication all still play a major role. That is why software like CorelDRAW continues to stay relevant. Real designers do not just think in forms. They think in surfaces, layers, marks, and communication. They understand that a shoe is both an object and a message. It needs to perform, but it also needs to speak visually. That is why the smartest designers build workflows that combine multiple tools, not because they are indecisive, but because each tool solves a different piece of the puzzle. So if you are trying to decide what to learn, the answer depends on who you want to become. If you want a strong practical foundation and you care about real product thinking, Fusion is an excellent place to start. If you know footwear is your world and you want a workflow that feels closer to real industry practice, Rhino with FTW Kit becomes a very serious path. If you want software that is more directly aligned with footwear development itself, iCAD 3D Plus deserves your attention. And if you want your concepts to look alive, polished, and presentation ready, Substance 3D is one of the smartest additions you can make. The best designers in 2026 are not the ones searching for one perfect software name. They are the ones building a complete process around the kind of work they want to do. That is the real secret most beginners miss. Great shoe design is not about software alone. It is about thinking clearly, choosing the right tools, and understanding how ideas move through a real design pipeline. The future belongs to designers who can do more than sketch, designers who can model, designers who can communicate, designers who can engineer, designers who can present, and most importantly, designers who know how to connect all of those stages into one intelligent workflow. So when people ask, what is the best shoe design software in 2026? The honest answer is this: the best software is the one that fits your role, your goals, and your process. But what real designers actually use is never just one tool. It is a system, a stack, a method. And once you understand that, you stop chasing hype and you start building like a professional. Because in the end, the designers who succeed are not always the ones with the most expensive software or the flashiest renders. They are the ones who understand the process deeply enough to turn an idea into something real. And that is what separates someone who likes shoes from someone who can actually design them.